Your Honor. 7/10/25, McDonald's employee Afeni Muhammad stabbed McDonald's manager Jennifer Harris multiple times with a kitchen knife at the McDonald's restaurant at 179219 Mile. Harris was not armed at the time and died of her injuries. Prior to the stabbing, Muhammad was sent home by Harris for not performing her work duties and told Harris, "I'll be back." Muhammad was arrested on scene and the knife was recovered. Muhammad admitted that she intended to kill Harris and stated that after she was sent home, she drove to a nearby park, decided to come back and stab Harris with a knife that she had inside of her vehicle. When Muhammad returned to stab Harris, she entered the back entrance with a hooded mask over her face in an attempt to conceal her identity and attempted to flee the scene after the stabbing, but was stopped by an armed customer.
And the requested charges are murder in the first degree, count 2, dangerous weapon carrying with unlawful intent, and there's a habitual second notice offense. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Four people versus Afeni, Badu, Muhammad. Counsel appearances for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Sean Hito, on behalf of the people.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Please, this honorable court, Matthew McConnell, appearing on behalf of Mrs. Muhammad, who does appear via Zoom.
Your name, please, ma'am.
Afeni Muhammad.
Very good. You're here today for arraignment on the charges of murder in the first degree, premeditated, count 2, carrying a weapon with unlawful intent, and a habitual second notice. On behalf of the people?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Pursuant to court rule, the court is well within its authority to grant no bond involving any case involving murder. In this case, we are requesting no bond for this defendant. Also provided within the court rules are certain factors for this court to consider when determining whether to grant any bond at all, and in this case, we are requesting no bond as I indicate. First of all, the court can consider whether or not this defendant is a threat to the community. She entered a public building with other individuals, other employees that were present. She produced a weapon that was a knife longer than 3 inches, and she stabbed the victim multiple times, up to possibly as many as 15 times, eventually causing her death. There were other employees that were present at the time, some of which attempted to help the victim after the stabbing occurred. That alone is enough to show that there is a threat to the community. She then ran from the building to her vehicle, presumably with the intent to flee from the scene. She was stopped by a helpful bystander. You're also able to consider the likelihood of conviction in this case, given the facts as laid out by Detective Showers and the information that the prosecutors have reviewed in order to charge this defendant. There is a very high likelihood of conviction. And then finally, the defendant does have a prior instance of at least one that I'm aware that involved a stabbing, similar obviously to the stabbing that occurred in this case involving a knife. So given all of those factors, and given the fact that this court does have authority to give no bond to defendants charged with murder, I am asking at this time for no bond in this case.
Mr. Licata, how does your client wish to proceed?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. At this time, my client is asking the court to enter a not guilty plea. This matter set for a probable cause conference of the preliminary exam. I have advised my client of her rights, as well as the charges against her and the potential penalties. We are ready to proceed on those grounds.
Very good. Ma'am, do you understand the nature of the charges against you to your satisfaction after talking to your attorney?
Yes.
Very good. I will go ahead and enter a not guilty plea on your behalf. Are you requesting a court-appointed attorney?
Yes.
I will appoint an attorney to represent you. We'll set this matter for a probable cause conference on July 23rd, 2025 at 1 p.m.
My client is 26 years old, does live in the great city of East Point. Your Honor, my client is a high school graduate. In fact, is actually was taking some online classes for college for a physical therapy degree. Your Honor, there are some disturbing facts in this particular matter, but there are facts that haven't been brought out yet, and my client is extremely anxious to have those facts brought to light during the pendency of this case. She was in an extremely abusive relationship that was not only mental but physical, that involved alcohol issues, which is where the habitual second stems from, and her prior record. Your Honor, my client is a helpful person. She's a giving person. She's actually is credited was saving a life because of a 60-year-old who had skin cancer, that she may go to the doctor to find out that that's exactly what it was, and that person is doing extremely well right now. I understand the facts that have been laid out today in the warrant, but at this time, Your Honor, we are asking the court to consider a bond in this manner that is appropriate, that my client can meet, so that she could meet with her attorneys and prepare her defense in this manner. Thank you.
The court has reviewed the charges and the circumstances surrounding this case. The defendant is facing various serious charges, including murder in the first degree, which is one of the most serious criminal offenses in our state, carrying penalties up to life without parole. Additionally, carrying a dangerous weapon with unlawful intent further underscores defendant's potential threat to public safety. Defendant has a prior criminal record out of Virginia for malicious wounding. It was actually felony malicious wounding that was reduced to unlawful bodily injury concerning a stabbing, and that is what gives rise to the habitual second. And in determining bond, the court must look to the factors outlined in Michigan Court Rule 6.106. Number one, the seriousness of the offense and the danger posed to the community. The charges here involved a violent crime with a weapon, indicating a substantial risk to the public. The court finds there is a significant threat to public safety, and therefore the bond must reflect that risk. Number two, the weight of the evidence against the defendant. While the evidence is not fully before us and the defendant is cloaked with the presumption of innocence, the nature of the charges along with the prior criminal history suggests that there is substantial evidence against the defendant. Defendant's criminal history: the defendant has a violent criminal past. The history supports the court's concern that the defendant may engage in further violent conduct if she is released. The defendant's ties to the community: while the defendant is relatively young at 26 years of age, there's no indication that she has any significant stabilizing ties to the community that would ensure her return for court appearances. Without these ties, the court is concerned about the likelihood of flight. Number five, defendant's risk of fleeing or failing to appear. Due to the severity of the charges and the habitual offender status, it makes the defendant a high risk for flight. The court finds that this factor weighs heavily in favor of a high bond amount. Substance abuse or mental treatment: although there are no reports at this time suggesting that the defendant suffers from mental health or substance abuse issues that would mitigate the risks posed by defendant's release, the court is, after considering all of these factors, going to be setting bond at $25 million, cash surety only, with conditions. If the defendant is able to meet those conditions, she must be on a GPS steel cuff tether. She is not to leave the state of Michigan. She is to report her address within 24 hours of, she must report any change of address within 24 hours. There would be stringent daily contact with community corrections as to her whereabouts. She also would be required to have alcohol and drug testing as condition of her release. There would be no contact with the family of the decedent. Any witnesses, she is not to return to McDonald's. And if she is unable to post the $25 million bond, she will remain in custody pending further proceedings.
You know, the craziest part about this whole situation is that amongst the tragedy, amongst the feelings that the kids have to go through, you have grown adults on social media basically trying to give a reason of why it is that the manager was deserving of what specifically took place. You have people stating that, oh, well, you shouldn't be bullying, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. You don't even know the full extent of the story. A lot of you clowns directly out here are defending an immigrant who is not more than likely supposed to be here. Proven case by her actions previously, because if people actually got the full story, if people actually listened to the hearing that took place, you would understand that this is not her first time brandishing or using a weapon. And the excuse that the defense for her at the moment in time in the court wanted to give was that, oh, well, my client was in a relationship, I had to deal with drugs, alcohol abuse, that type of thing. And this is what gave to the first charge. That I'm not trying to hear no excuse. I'm not trying to hear no excuse. All I'm hearing is that if she did it once, she's able to do it again. And because she did it once and people excused it, trying to, again, find a reason, trying to find validation for why it is that she can do what it is that she did today, this is how you have what took place. This is how you have the loss of life. This is now how you have these 6 kids, 5 girls, 1 boy, without any parents. If anybody paid attention to the previous story, they told everybody that, hey, the father is, obviously not in the picture because he is locked up for whatever reason. We don't know why he's locked up. So, he's not here. The other person that we currently have at this moment in time was the mother. And she was the main one. She was the focal point. She was the fixture. She was the cornerstone of that family. She was making sure to do what it is that she had to do every single day. And this mother was doing this for 15 years at McDonald's. And she made sure to do her job so that her kids would have a roof, so that her kids would have food, so that her kids would be able to have clothes and be able to go to and from school. She did that. Like I said, we live in a society at this moment in time with grown adults who act like children, who basically are children, right? Because there's a lot of adults who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, so on and so on and so on, that have kids and everything, and they act like grown children. Emotionally, they act like they're 15. And it shows directly on social media. It shows the lack of maturity, the lack of emotional understanding that a lot of people lack when I read a lot of comments directly out here. And for the most part, that I know that a lot of these people, a lot of these individuals are older than me, which is shameful. 100%. So I understand why you have, different generations moving and running around the way that they do, because, you have a lot of people who are older who lack emotional intelligence. And again, it shows. For you to go out of your way from whatever experience that you specifically have that you couldn't emotionally just battle through and figure out, and you want to give a justification because you wish, or you thought about, or you had some type of thought of going through with something like this, you are mentally unstable and you need help. You don't really need to be around anybody. If at any moment in time that you think that this is an okay thing for somebody to go out here and do, you need to get locked up a mental institution, because this is crazy. You don't need to have kids. You don't need to go straight to jail and stay there forever, because again, this is crazy. And you wonder why it is that people go out and they do the things that they do. That's because you have too many people giving validation for ignorance, for stupidness. This by far has to be one of the weakest and the softest generations that I have ever seen in my lifetime. That is insane. As stated before, the lack of emotional intelligence is mind-boggling. And like I stated before, and I pointed this out in the very first video because I paid very close attention to her words, because obviously everybody else didn't. She said that the Black American woman was saying racial stuff. One of the employees directly in the McDonald's that was interviewed was that of a Black woman. So I'm like, what do you mean racial stuff? I'm like, you must be disagreeing with something because you're not Black American. And then you just so happen to see the woman's name, and oops, there it goes. And this is going to further bring more insult and injury to what it is that Black Americans have been stating when it talks about a lot of these immigrants, migrants, a lot of these people who are African or whatnot or whatever, who are amongst us in the Black community, who masquerade, who cosplay, who do this and that, and they do things like this. Now, if people weren't really paying attention, they're gonna be like, oh, this is what black people normally do in the black community. This is just how they get down, right? But no, this is somebody who looks like us, but who is not. We got way too many problems, way too many issues, other people actually doing, crime and whatnot, whatever in the community. We don't need other people from other places bringing their problems and their situations on top of whatever else that is that we got to already deal with. We don't need that. We do not need that at all. Go back home. Go back to where it is that you set up there. You could have came somewhere from Africa. Go back there. You need to go back there. If you want to sit up there and do stuff like this, you want to pull out knives, go back yonder. We don't need that here. We got too much on our plate to sit up there and deal with 24/7 within our communities, within our families, and everything else. We don't need anything else extra. And again, this is what I've stated for a very long time, just like many others directly out here. Like I said, if they allow this woman to even step free again, it's going to be way worse. It is going to be way worse. And this comes just after I gave a video previously directed to black women about, hey, you got to be safe. You got to, be mindful and all of these other types of things. Again, I do those videos every once in a while to try to, put a warning, to try to put a bat signal, try to light a torch or a flare directly in the dark so people can happen to see. And yes, it's like I said, it's getting bad. It's getting bad. So again, for the black women out there, y'all got to keep your heads on a swivel, because a lot of these women who look like you are not for you, are not about you, and they will do everything to take you out, literally, just because. So again, my condolences to the family. Let's see if the justice that should happen will. Right, she was already placed on, what was it, a $25 million bond. So we will see, what will take place and how this has happened. Like I said, she's a flight risk. She's a car risk. I'm not even sure what you even call that. She's a risk to everything. She should not even be allowed online, realistically, because she is unhinged. She doesn't deserve any type of freedoms. The exact same freedoms that the mother of 6 currently has, that's the same type of freedom that woman deserves, which is nothing. If that woman can no longer see the sunlight, if she can no longer go out here and use technology, holidays, meet with a human being, the main perpetrator should not be able to do anything. It should be equal. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this video and everything that I stated in the comment description below. And as always, peace, love, and stay tuned for the next video.